Alright, welcome back to Mormon Guitar and Happy New Year for 2014. Today's hymn, or this month's hymn, excuse me, I'm getting over whatever it is. I don't know, it's like a cold but more of a cough. It was horrible. As you can see. I don't know how I'm going to get through this. Alright. This month's hymn, Redeemer of Israel. This was our first listener-picked hymn, and I want to thank Brittany Hurst for suggesting this one. We threw it into a hat with about almost 100 others and picked this one randomly, and so here it is. And interestingly enough, after I picked hers, I just thought, well, I was curious to know what the next one would have been. And I picked it, and it was Redeemer of Israel again. So, this is the one that was supposed to be done. Now, the cool thing about this hymn, so a month ago, another one of our listeners, Dan, had commented on another post about Redeemer of Israel, talking about how I guess their stake or reward, or I guess it would be stake, is doing a pioneer trek this summer, and they're doing. I'm fumbling over myself. Redeemer of Israel, I guess, is the theme song or the theme hymn that they're doing, and wondered if I had an arrangement of that. But he gave me some background info on this hymn that I didn't know before. So one is, it's one of the 6 hymns that are in our hymn book today that were in the original hymn book that Emma Smith put together. But more than that, this is the only hymn, according to him, and I couldn't find anything online to dispute this, but this is the only hymn of those 6 that still uses the same melody. So if you're thinking of, the pioneers crossing the plains, this quite possibly could have been one of the hymns that they sang along the way. So I wanted to use that as the inspiration for this arrangement. So it starts off kind of slow and everything, and the way I imagined it in my mind, and of course, steel string guitars weren't even invented back then. Martin came up with them in the 30s. Or 20s, or it was a whole group of them. Anyways, I don't want to be spouting off non-facts here on this, but anyway, steel string guitars did not exist back then. So obviously, even if they had a guitar with them, this hymn would definitely not be played like this. But I like the idea of the hymn. Taking them as they're leaving Nauvoo, and it starts off more of a more sad. It starts off where they're pleading with the Lord to bless them. And interestingly enough, like looking through the lyrics, I feel like even the structure of the lyrics kind of follows that same thing. And so I had the idea, what if it was, leaving Nauvoo or wherever they were. I'm not a church historian, so don't quote me on any of this, but leaving on the trek, being kind of sad and distraught and not necessarily hopeless, but just singing a hymn in order to excite them, in order to get them motivated. And so that's why the hymn, this arrangement, verse after verse, picks up and becomes more and more exciting and more motivated until the end, when it's just trying to tear my guitar in half. But that's kind of that's the genesis behind this arrangement, and why it progresses the way that it does, where each verse builds on the next and just gets you more and more excited. And I loved finding out that information about this hymn, because Redeemer of Israel has always been one of my favorite hymns, because it's so oh, I think I have a visitor. Yes, come in. Hey, cutie. You want to say hi? Come here. Say hi. Hi, this is my daughter, Alice. Okay, let me finish doing this, alright? Okay.
What's she singing?
Redeemer of Israel.
Again!
Again? No, not again, I had already done this morning. Okay, sorry. So anyways, it's one of my all-time favorite songs. It's a short hymn, and a really powerful melody, so powerful, that I've always loved it. I'm excited I was excited that I got to do it on the guitar. So let's jump into the lesson. Thanks again, everyone, for tuning in. This has been a lot of fun, and it's just great having everybody tuning in and throwing suggestions. And again, it's going back, this next month's going back to my kids suggesting the hymn, but you know, every once in a while we'll throw in another listener choice, so stay tuned for that. But here comes the lesson, and we'll see you next month. Thanks. Alright, in order to play this song, the first thing we need to do is we need to tune the guitar. This is done in an alternate tuning. So what you're going to do is take your guitar. First of all, you're going to need a capo, and you're going to need a capo that doesn't, well, that it's kind of like a half capo like this, you know, where either this or you got clamps or whatever, just something that doesn't have to cover all the frets, because or all the strings, because we're going to leave the bottom E string open, and I'll show you why. But what we're going to do is we're going to tune the top two strings, so the high E and the high B string. We're going to tune those. We're going to an A and a D. So we're going to tune the B string, now becomes a A. Alright, so that matches that low A. And the high E string is going to become a D. Just like our D right there. So our D right there and our D right there. So this, what this tuning is it's actually called Dad-Gad. Which is very popular with Celtic and Irish arrangements and everything, and it's also a fairly popular alternate tuning besides, you know, just kind of the open chord tunings. But normally what we do with Dad-Gad is that, you know, obviously it starts with a D, Dad-Gad, so normally you would tune that low E down to a D, and so you'd have it all with open strings. However, with this arrangement, I tried that, and the fingerings for the chords just got to be so difficult that I decided to do a modified version of it. So by leaving that bottom E string undone, or leaving it as it is, as an E, then we just take, we take the capo it at the second fret across the other 5 strings, alright? So now what that does is that moves everything else up a whole step, but that low E stays a low E. So now we have a Dad-Gad tuning except 2 frets up. Alright? See how that works? Now, and the reason I do that is because when I go to, you know, like say a G chord, I can do it by hitting the G on the 3rd fret, or what would be the 3rd fret because I'm capoed, instead of having to go up to the 5th fret, which is what I would have to do if I had detuned the bottom E string. So that's why that is. So so you can look on the sheet music on the tab, because I have the tunings on there. So take a look at that if you haven't already, and tune your guitar to the right tuning, and then come back to this. But if you already have, let's go ahead and go. So it starts off real simple. The great thing about this song is that all 4 verses are done the exact same with the fingerings. It's just the strumming pattern. So we're going to do one verse of the fingerings, and then we'll just go over the different strumming patterns and leave it at that. Okay? So it starts off. Again, look at the tab, so we don't have to say, you know, which string and which fret and everything, so you can already have that on hand. I'm just going to go slow so you can see exactly how it looks when it's played. The great thing with Dad-Gad and these open tunings is that you can hit almost any string and it'll still sound good. So you don't need to worry about, you know, hitting specific strings even if it's listed in the tab. And then we do the harmonic. So we got the harmonic at the 14th fret because we're capoed up at the 2nd. And we don't do all of them because that bottom E is not capoed. So we're just doing the ones above it. So the top 5 strings or whatever. And then again now at the 9th. Except all the way through, there we go. And now at the 7th, which is the 5th because we're capoed. I can do better than that. There we go. Alright. Now again, if you haven't done a harmonic before, harmonics are really easy. You just put your finger over top the fret, not the space in between the fret, but the actual fret. So if we're doing, you know, if we're doing the 14th fret right here, which is way up here, we don't want to put our finger over the space, which is not where we normally do if we're fingering it. We put it over the fret right in front of it, because that's where the magic happens. Same down here. Alright. And now we're going to do the hymn. Okay, now the key with this chord is, of course, I'm using my thumb. You don't necessarily have to, but whatever you're using, whether it's, you know, your middle finger and going, but you want to mute that 2nd string here. Okay, so with my thumb, I'm hitting it, but I'm also touching that next string so that when I hit it with the pick, it doesn't sound anything. Here I use my thumb in this kind of way to play this chord, but it's the same thing as a bar chord, so you could just play it like a bar chord, but just lift your fingers off the fretboard on the top strings. Alright. This one would be harder to do like this, which is why I do it like that. Same thing with the thumb. Most time when you're using the thumb, you want it to mute that next string above it. There's a lot of dissonance in that chord. So that's the fingering. That fingering is the same for all the verses. So learn that fingering and you'll do fine. And my memory card is full on that one. Okay, hold on. Okay, so now that's the fingering. So the fingering is the same for all the verses. So you just have to learn that on the left hand and you'll be fine. Now let's talk about the strumming. So the strumming, the first verse is, you know, really not any strumming. It's just kind of slow rakes through everything. The second verse is more of a kind of a swing almost, where alright, and you'll notice with this picking pattern it's down every time. So that's the second verse. Exact same fingering as the first verse. Now we get to the third verse, and now this is the picking pattern for this. Okay, so let's slow that down. So you're going down, down, up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, down. Alright? You're just going to want to practice that. Until you kind of get it, the feel for it. Now, you want to leave your wrist really loose in this because that allows you to kind of do those. And you also notice too that when I don't always hit all the strings when I'm doing that double time, whether it's 16th note or 32nd. I don't know. So I don't have to go or I'm sorry. I don't have to do that. I can do that, but most of the time it's just more of a. Alright, now on to the last verse, which is really just straight up and down the whole time. Except you know, normally we're doing it where it's the accent is always on the downbeat, but this one it alternates, so it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Actually, no, it doesn't. Yeah, on the third one, so or the fourth. So up, down, up, down, up, down. Okay, so with the accents. All right, so down, up, down. There's no pause, which I'm doing there, so it's more. Alright, and then you just, again, it's muscle memory, you just practice it and speed it up. And you'll notice again, I don't have to hit all the strings. Alright, but that is the song. And if you have any questions on any of the specific parts, I know this is kind of, you know, I'm trying to shorten the lesson at least so that there's things that you can work on in order to get it. But it really is the same. All 4 verses is the same fingerings. It's just the strumming patterns that are different. So just work on that. You can email me, comment, do whatever you want. Send a carrier pigeon if you need any. If you have any questions, more than happy to answer them for you. So thanks again. Good luck with this one.